Let me reiterate my challenge, and this is super important, and I want people out there who are MAGA to actually take me up on it. Be fucking honest. Tell the truth. Look in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm just going to lay it out there, and I'm going to say what's actually going on in our minds, and I'm going to say what our actual plan was. We never believed in free speech. You're right, Kyle. We never believed in free speech. We used it. We cynically used it, pretended like it was a principle we held. But really, it was just about, hey, dog, if I say something bad about trans people or immigrants or black people or whatever, shut the fuck up and don't criticize me. And again, the true test of if you believe in free speech or not is when your enemy says something that they're in trouble for, right? That's the true test. So now I like to think we've actually passed that test. There are times that you've had these massive protests to say, we don't want Ann Coulter to speak at this college or university. We don't want Ben Shapiro, etc. And I came out and said, look, I despise these people. I hate these people. I'd love to debate these people. I think it'd be better if there was a counter voice on stage. But at the same time, hey, they have every right to get up there and talk. And I don't think we should be saying, shut them down completely, right? So I've passed that test. None of these people have passed that test. As they virtue signal like they were the most pure and the most pro-free speech in the country, what did they do? They ended up backing a president who has the single worst record on free speech issues in modern American history.
Correct. They want to bludgeon their opponents with free speech, cries for free speech, say you don't believe in free speech, while simultaneously trying to take away their free speech. Many Trump supporters are just complete hypocrites. They just want to use it as a weapon for their own hatred. And also they want to censor you. They think that if you are a left of center voice, you deserve to be censored. So yeah, they're total hacks and hypocrites. They don't care about hypocrisy. Either that or they're just really ignorant.
Everybody knows that now. It's crystal clear now. He's deporting people for supporting Palestine, for criticizing a literal fucking genocide that we armed and funded. And by the way, it's not like well, geez, this is the first time that Trump has shown he's actually not pro-free speech. This is wrong. We know he called to terminate all rules, regulations, and articles in the Constitution over his election laws. He literally said terminate the Constitution over his election laws. He tried to invoke the Insurrection Act over the George Floyd protesters. He wanted to deploy U.S. troops in our own streets. He didn't pardon Assange. He didn't pardon Snowden. He didn't pardon Daniel Hale. If he believed in free speech, he absolutely would have done that. He arrested and charged 6 journalists with felony rioting for doing their jobs. He gag ordered the EPA in his first term because the EPA was telling the truth on climate change, and he disagrees with the truth on climate change. He wants to deport pro-Palestine protesters, as he's doing right now, and he's about to ramp up. He called for jailing journalists who reported on the Supreme Court abortion ruling. He says he wants to open up the libel laws to sue more journalists. Before he was president, he sued Bill Maher for $5 million over a fucking joke. He sued CNN for $475 million because they called his election denialism the big lie. He said...
Now, you are allowed to sue people under U.S. law, but of course the way he's suing people is totally weaponized. I don't think that one instance of him suing people shows he's against free speech, but the fact he uses it as a weapon so much, it's like, yeah, he just hates when people say bad things about him. He wants to censor them. He wants to intimidate them. He wants to use his attorneys to intimidate them out of saying bad things about him. So yes, it is censorious, using defamation and libel suits against people when they say bad things about you, when there's like no chance that you'd ever succeed in a court of law on that claim.
Wants to punish flag burning with a year in jail. We know that's a free speech issue because the Supreme Court literally laid that out in a landmark ruling. He threatens to de-license news outlets that criticize him all the fucking time. He just sued Simon & Schuster, the book company, for a Bob Woodward book that quoted him and he didn't like the quote. He sued CBS for how it edited a Kamala interview, and of course he sued Ann Selzer for a poll he didn't fucking like. He has never, ever, ever supported free speech. And my challenge to the right, my challenge to MAGA, is you need to come out and admit it. And you need to say, hey, you know what, Mark Ames is correct. Because what did Mark Ames say? All the Trump supporters who sanctimoniously claimed MAGA is pro-free speech and anti-censorship really meant they wanted Trump to destroy the people and ideas they hate. That's the principle here. And it's more widely held than most Americans like to admit.
True. That is a perfect way of summarizing it. You could apply that to a lot of other principles like small government. They love using the government to terrorize their opponents. They say they're for small government. They'll point to things like DOGE, like, oh yeah, we're trimming the size of government. No, you're just trimming government when it actually helps people, the CFPB, all that good stuff. The government that Americans actually want. Meanwhile, you use the government to terrorize people. So they have no leg to stand on when it comes to supporting small government. They have no leg to stand on when it comes to almost any other principle, really. So yeah, I mostly agree with Kyle Kulinski on this free speech analysis here. I think there are some Trump supporters who are just ignorant in how free speech works. And so maybe they're not trying to antagonize people with their support for free speech, and they actually could be consistent. They're just too ignorant to understand how it works. You know, they're not educated on the First Amendment like people like me are. So, you know, what can you do? But yeah, a lot of them are cynically using the First Amendment as a weapon. They're using it in order to basically serve as a vessel, a protective shield for their vicious, vitriolic speech, their death threats against transgender people, you know, like Libs of TikTok does. And then simultaneously, they want to censor people who disagree with them, which is particularly egregious and particularly hypocritical. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. This has been the More is the Merrier. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.